Have you ever been afraid of dying, but deep down hoped there might be something more? What if I told you that a woman actually died and came back with an answer? Not a dream, not a hallucination, but a real encounter with Jesus, with her cremated brother, and with a message so powerful that it could bring peace to your heart. In this story, you'll hear what truly happens when the soul leaves the body, and you'll discover something few dare to speak about, the truth about cremation. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might forever change the way you look at death and life. My name is Juliet. I'm 38 years old, and I spent most of my adult life working as a nurse in a small town in central Italy. A simple life. Nothing extraordinary. My days were filled with long shifts, hospital corridors, urgent phone calls, coffee breaks, and patients who taught me more than any textbook ever could. People said I had healing hands and a gentle heart. Maybe that's true. I was practical, always grounded, always the one to keep calm when things got chaotic. I had seen death many times, but nothing, not my training, not my experience, not even my faith, could have prepared me for what happened on October 11th, 2012. That morning felt no different than any other. I woke up feeling unusually tired, but I brushed it off. Probably just stress, I thought, as I got dressed for another shift at the hospital. I had been dealing with fatigue and minor chest pains for a few months, but I had always managed. I was used to pushing through. That day, I pushed too far. By noon, the pain in my chest exploded like a fist slamming through my ribcage. It stole the air from my lungs. I staggered against the hallway wall, trying to stay conscious. My vision blurred. I tried to call for help. I really did. But no words came. Only silence. And then, everything went dark. But it wasn't the end. When I opened my eyes, if you can call it that, I wasn't lying on the hospital floor anymore. I was above it. I hovered in the air, watching the chaos unfold beneath me. My body lay motionless on the ground, pale, lifeless. People were shouting my name. My co-workers, my friends, were rushing around me, their hands shaking, trying to revive me. I wanted to scream, "I'm right here." But I couldn't. No voice, no breath, just awareness. A cold panic rushed over me. Was I dead? I stared at my body, at the people fighting for me, and my mind spun. How could I be thinking if I wasn't alive? How could I see if my eyes were closed? And then, through the fear and confusion, something happened. A whisper. Not with sound, but inside me. Clear as water, soft as light. You are not alone. In that moment, I felt myself being pulled upward. Not falling, not flying. Drawn. As if a current had taken hold of me, carrying me gently away from the room, away from the pain, away from the world I thought I knew. The hospital faded into nothingness. The shouting, the machines, the color of the walls, all disappeared. And in its place, light. A light so brilliant, so pure, it should have blinded me. But it didn't. It welcomed me. It wrapped around me like a warm embrace. It wasn't just brightness. It was peace. Peace deeper than anything I'd ever felt. Peace that didn't just calm me. It healed me. All the fear I carried, all the doubts, the guilt, the shame. Gone. Just gone. Like they never belonged to me. I realized I could no longer feel my body. And for the first time in my life, that was a relief. I wasn't floating. I was being. Weightless, limitless, free. There was no time, no sense of distance, only presence. And that presence was love. I moved forward, or maybe the light moved around me. I don't really know. I didn't walk, didn't fly. I just shifted. as if my soul willed itself forward, and the universe obeyed. Then the light began to change. At first, it shimmered, softened, then shapes emerged from it. Landscapes unlike anything I had ever imagined. Rolling hills bathed in golden hues, rivers like ribbons of light, flowing with a soft, celestial pulse. Trees whose leaves glowed with living color. The sky itself moved, breathed, and I could feel a music not in my ears, but in my spirit. I was home. Somehow I just knew. And yet, something even greater waited. In the distance, a figure approached. At first, I couldn't make out the face, the light was too strong, but I felt a deep recognition, a knowing that shook me. And then I saw him. Jesus. He didn't speak at first. He didn't have to. His presence said everything. His eyes met mine, and they were the eyes of someone who had always known me, who had seen everything I'd ever done and loved me still. His face, I still can't describe it. Beautiful, familiar, pure. His smile disarmed every wall I had ever built around my heart. I fell to my knees, though I had no body. It was the only response my soul could give. And then, he spoke. Not with words through air, but with words that bypassed sound completely and went straight into my being. Juliet, you are safe. 3 words. That's all it took. I broke. Tears flooded my spirit, though I had no eyes to cry. Peace filled me. Love held me. I wanted to thank him. I wanted to ask him everything, every question I'd ever carried. But I couldn't speak. I didn't have to. He already knew. And then he reached out his hand. When his hand touched mine, I felt it. Not like skin on skin. It was warmth that didn't just comfort. It transformed. In that moment, I understood. This is what I was made for. This is where I belong. He began to lead me deeper into the light. But before we could go far, something rose inside me. Something I hadn't expected. A memory. A question. My brother. He had died years before, and he had been cremated. The guilt I had buried came rushing back. I turned to Jesus. My voice trembled. Lord, does the soul feel pain during cremation? His face remained gentle, not surprised, not judging. And then, he answered, if this story is already touching your heart, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more powerful experiences like this. His answer didn't come as thunder. It came as peace. Child, Jesus said, his voice as calm as a still lake at sunrise. Why do you carry this burden? Tears welled inside me, though I had no eyes to cry. Because I'm afraid, I admitted. My brother was cremated, and I've always wondered. Did he suffer? Did the fire hurt his soul? Jesus stepped closer. His presence radiated warmth, not a heat that burned, but one that softened. He reached for my hand again and looked into the very center of me. The body is only a vessel, he said, his tone both gentle and unwavering. When a person leaves it, they are no longer bound by its pain or its fate. The fire that consumes the flesh cannot touch the soul. Your brother felt no pain. He was already with me. I couldn't breathe, but I felt like I had just taken the first real breath of my life. Years of guilt, fear, and silent torment melted into the light around us, carried away like leaves in the wind. For the first time since his passing, I felt peace. But there was more to come. Much more. Jesus took my hand again and said, "Come." And with that single word, the world around us began to shift. We moved forward, not with footsteps, but with intention. The scenery unfolded like a painting coming to life. The light around us changed, softened, revealing a realm that defied all earthly imagination. Golden hills rose and fell like waves frozen in a divine embrace. Trees lined our path, their leaves shimmering in countless hues: lavender, rose gold, soft emerald, colors I had no name for. Their branches swayed without wind, as if dancing to an invisible rhythm only heaven could hear. There was no sun, yet everything was lit. The air itself glowed. It wasn't just a space. It was a presence. A living, breathing atmosphere that responded to thought, to feeling, to the whisper of the soul. Rivers flowed through the hills, not with water, but with light, liquid light. Streams that shimmered and pulsed with life. I could feel the current in my spirit as we passed, as if it recognized me, welcomed me. I turned to Jesus. "Where are we?" I whispered. "This," he said, "is the threshold." I didn't ask of what. My heart already knew. This was the edge of eternity. As we continued walking, I noticed others in the distance, beings of light. Not exactly human in form, but not unfamiliar either. Some stood tall in silent reverence. Others moved gently among gardens, tending to flowers that bloomed in impossible patterns, petals folding into themselves like fractals of light. One figure caught my attention. A woman knelt beside a tree that bore fruit glowing like amber lanterns. She wasn't picking them. She was praying over them. And as she prayed, the fruit glowed brighter. Every moment pulsed with purpose. Here, nothing was idle. Every detail had meaning. Every movement was worship. And yet there was no effort, no strain, only joy. Jesus turned to me again. "Do you see?" he asked. "I see beauty," I said, "and peace." He nodded. "And this is only the beginning." A melody rose in the distance, not sung by voices, but woven into the very fabric of the realm. It passed through me, filling me with a joy so overwhelming it brought me to tears again. My whole being vibrated with it, like I was an instrument finally tuned to the right frequency. In that moment I thought, if this is only the beginning, what lies ahead? If you feel this story stirring something inside your heart, comment your name and city. We'll be praying for you. Jesus continued leading me, and with each step, more of the landscape opened. Bridges of translucent stone arched across valleys of glowing mist. Mountains in the distance shimmered like crystal, their peaks crowned in golden halos. We came to a wide open plain, and as we crossed it, I felt a presence growing. Not just Jesus beside me, but another. Someone. I knew. I stopped. My heart raced. Though I had no physical body, the feeling was unmistakable. He was here. My brother. In the distance, a figure emerged. At first, I couldn't make out the details. The light made him look like a silhouette sculpted in gold. But then, a laugh. A laugh I would have recognized anywhere. My soul leapt. I ran forward, or whatever running means when you're not bound by legs. The space between us vanished, and suddenly I was in his arms. He held me tightly. There were no words. None were needed. The embrace said everything. He looked young again, strong, vibrant. All the signs of illness and pain that had marked his last days were gone. His eyes were alive with peace. "I missed you," I said, my voice trembling. He nodded. I never left. We sat together by a river that flowed like liquid diamond. The ground beneath us was soft and warm, pulsing gently as if even the earth here had a heartbeat. I turned to him. "Did it hurt?" I asked. "When they cremated you?" He smiled. "No. Juliet, the moment I left my body, I felt nothing but peace. The fire touched only what was already gone. My soul was never in that flame." Tears returned, but this time they were of release. The ache I had carried for so long, the fear that he had suffered, was gone. I was wrong to doubt, I whispered. No, he said gently. You loved me. That's why you wondered. That's why you hurt. I laid my head against his shoulder. The music of this place swirled around us, harmony without notes, rhythm without instruments. And for the first time in years I felt whole. But even in that wholeness, something stirred. Jesus approached again. His gaze was kind, but solemn. There's more you need to see, he said. What is it? I asked. He extended his hand. And as I took it, the light around us began to shift again, this time revealing something deeper, something eternal. We were no longer at the edge. We were crossing over. And what I saw next, I never could have imagined. The world around us shifted once more, but this time it wasn't just beauty that unfolded. It was understanding. A clarity began to settle into my spirit, not as information, but as knowing, as if truths I had never been taught were being whispered directly into my soul. Jesus held my hand, and we stepped into a vast expanse, unlike anything I had seen before. The light here was softer, more sacred, and it pulsed gently with a kind of awareness. The air felt heavier, not with weight, but with meaning. Every breath of this realm carried revelation. I looked around and saw what resembled a great hall, but it had no walls, no ceiling, just openness stretching infinitely in every direction. Beings of radiant presence gathered in quiet communion. Some stood in contemplation. Others moved gracefully with purpose. I could feel their thoughts, their prayers, their joy, all flowing like rivers into one shared current of divine love. Jesus walked with me to the center of this space, and I understood that here, souls came to learn. Not with books or lectures, but through encounter, through illumination. It was not knowledge that filled this place, it was wisdom, eternal, living wisdom. As we stood still, a kind of vision opened before me. I didn't see it with eyes. It was more like standing inside a memory, one that didn't belong to me, and yet, it did. I saw the moment my brother passed, not as it appeared on earth, but as it truly happened in spirit. I watched him leave his body, peacefully, effortlessly. The moment of death was not violent, it was gentle, sacred. His soul rose like a breath escaping the lungs for the final time. He didn't look back. He didn't have to. What awaited him was more compelling than anything he left behind. The fire of cremation came later. But he wasn't there. He was already surrounded by light, by angels, by the same presence I now walked beside. Watching it from this place, I saw how much fear we carry in our human hearts. Fear of fire, fear of endings, fear of separation. But here, that fear was exposed for what it truly is: misunderstanding. Jesus turned to me. This is what I wanted you to see. Tears welled within me. All this time, I thought he might have suffered, that the choice of cremation somehow dishonored him. His eyes met mine with infinite compassion. Juliet, the soul is eternal. The body returns to dust in many ways, through fire, through time, through the embrace of the earth. But the soul belongs to me. Nothing can separate you from my love. His words sank into me deeper than anything I had ever known. I thought about the countless people who fear cremation, who wrestle with tradition, who worry about making the wrong decision in a moment of grief. How many carry guilt like I did? How many wonder if their loved ones are at peace? What about the others? I asked. All the people who worry like I did? He smiled gently. That's why you were shown this. We moved again, and I found myself walking through what felt like a living tapestry. Stories unfolded around me, stories of people I had never met. Women, men, children, all stepping out of their bodies and into the arms of love. whether their funerals were grand or quiet, whether they were buried beneath the earth or returned to it by flame. They were all received with the same grace, the same welcome. One woman held her stillborn child in her arms again, both shining with joy. An old man who had died alone in a hospital bed now stood surrounded by those he had loved and lost. A young boy ran through the fields of light, laughing with a freedom he had never known on earth. And I understood. Heaven is not a reward for rituals. It is the home of hearts that belong to God. Jesus brought me to a hill that overlooked the vastness of this realm. From here, I could see the expanse stretch in every direction, valleys of light, rivers of song, gardens that shimmered with unspoken beauty. He stood beside me and said, "There's something else." A warm wind passed over us, carrying with it a name, my brother's. Then suddenly he was there again, smiling, whole. I ran to him. We embraced once more, and he looked into my eyes with gratitude. "I'm so glad you came," he said. "I was so afraid," I admitted. "I know," he said softly. "But now you've seen. Now you know." We sat together under a tree that glowed softly, its branches swaying as if it too listened to our hearts. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. Every emotion was shared without sound. He rested his hand over mine, and I could feel the peace in his soul radiating through me. Then Jesus approached again, this time more solemn than before. "It's time," he said. My heart tightened. Time for what? To go back. I froze. "No," I whispered. "Please don't send me back." "You still have work to do," he said. "There are people who need to hear what you've seen. People living in fear, clinging to questions you now carry the answers to." I turned to my brother, searching for help, for escape. He didn't argue. He only nodded. "You'll come back," he said. "But not yet." I looked at Jesus, my voice shaking. "Will I forget all this?" "You will remember what your soul can hold," he replied. "And what you can't remember, your heart will still carry." He placed his hand over where my heart would have been, and in that instant, a wave of energy surged through me. Light poured into my spirit like fire, but not burning fire, cleansing, preparing. And then everything began to fade. The landscape blurred. My brother's face drifted into light. The music slowed into silence. And just before the darkness returned, I heard Jesus say, "Tell them, death is not the end. It is the beginning." The light dissolved around me like mist breaking at dawn. Then, silence. And in that silence, a sudden gasp. My body jerked violently, as if pulled up from the depths of the sea. Air rushed into my lungs like a storm. My chest ached. My heart thundered. Everything felt loud. The machines beeping, the voices shouting, the fluorescent lights glaring above me. I was back. I blinked, disoriented. The hospital room blurred in and out of focus. I saw faces, some familiar, others not, all staring at me in shock. One nurse covered her mouth, her eyes wide. A doctor leaned over me, stethoscope trembling in his hand. "She's back," he whispered. "She was gone, but she's back." I couldn't speak at first. My throat burned and my limbs felt like lead, but inside me, deep, deep within, I carried the stillness of heaven. It was as if a part of that place had come back with me, nestled in my soul like a glowing ember that would never go out. One of the nurses grabbed my hand. "Juliet," she said, her voice cracking. "You were gone for minutes. Flatline. We thought we lost you." I looked at her, barely able to form the words, but they came, hoarse and trembling. "I saw heaven." She froze. "I saw Jesus and my brother. He's okay." Tears streamed down her face, but I couldn't focus on her reaction. My body was back, but my spirit was still trying to reconcile two worlds. I had stood in the presence of perfect peace, and now I was in a room filled with noise, wires, and the smell of antiseptic. Over the next days, my recovery became the talk of the hospital. The miracle nurse, they called me. Some believed, others dismissed it, but none of that mattered. What mattered was the fire inside me, not the fire of death, but the fire of purpose. I had seen truth. I had touched eternity, and I could not stay silent. I left my job a few months later, not because I was afraid of death, but because I knew I had something else to do. I began writing, speaking, visiting churches and support groups, not as a preacher, not as a prophet, but simply as a witness. I shared my story, every detail, every color, every word that Jesus had spoken to me. I told people that death is not a punishment, that cremation is not a curse, that God doesn't dwell in our rituals, but in our hearts, and that no earthly fire could ever touch what belongs to heaven. People wept, not because my story was dramatic, but because it was recognizable. They had carried the same fears, the same doubts, the same ache of loss, and suddenly they weren't alone anymore. I wrote letters to mothers who had lost children. I spoke to widows who feared their husbands had vanished into nothing. I counseled families torn apart by questions of faith and funeral rites. And in every story I heard, I saw a reflection of myself, of the woman I had been before that day in October. I told them, over and over again, you don't have to be afraid. I saw what waits for us. I saw love. But my transformation wasn't only public, it was personal. Quiet moments became sacred. Every sunrise reminded me of the light I had walked in. Every touch from a friend echoed the embrace of my brother. Every breath I took felt borrowed, and therefore precious. I no longer feared dying, but more importantly, I no longer feared living. Because now I understood. Every second is preparation. Every act of kindness, every prayer whispered in the dark, every hand we hold, it all carries weight in eternity. I began to see people differently. Strangers looked like souls waiting to be reminded of who they were. The angry cashier, the weeping mother, the tired neighbor. Each one beloved. Each one known by name. And sometimes at night, I would sit in silence and feel it again. The music, the light, the presence, like a soft hum beneath the noise of this world, always there, always waiting. I know I will return someday. I don't know when, but I no longer wonder if. Heaven isn't a faraway dream. It's a promise, a reality more permanent than this one. And when that day comes, I won't be afraid. I'll run toward that light without hesitation, because I've been there, because I know who waits for me, because I've seen the face of Jesus, and now everything in me lives to echo the words he spoke. You are safe. You are loved. Death is not the end. It is only the beginning.